Hey guys, it's Tim Shermack, and welcome back to another episode of the Platform Marketing Show. I'm joined today by Richelle Dopp, who's in kind of the Salt Lake City area in Utah. Richelle, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much.
So I know that you're in Layton, which is kind of a little bit north of Salt Lake City, but generally you serve the broader Salt Lake City area. And your best year ever was 2021. We were talking before the show that, a lot of agents, if you ask them what was your best year ever, they'll say 2021 because that's when interest rates bottomed out and everyone was kind of like stir crazy from COVID and people were moving and wanting to buy a house with a bigger yard or a house with more land, whatever, because they were, like I said, just getting stir crazy during all the lockdowns. And um, many agents seem to have their best year ever in 2021. You joined Platform, was it 2023 or
Yeah, it was
2022?
March of 2023.
Okay, so 2023 is when you officially got started with this platform marketing strategy. This year, you are on pace to do 20 million or more. You said you actually might finish the year, depending on how a couple things shake out. You might actually end the year at 25 or potentially even 30 million, but for sure, you're pretty confident you're going to hit somewhere between 20 and 25 million. Again, your best year ever previously was 10 million. So your business has absolutely grown, but it didn't happen quickly. It's not like this all happened overnight or even frankly within your first 6 months of this
Right.
platform strategy. Um, like my first question is, when did you feel like when you started all this new marketing stuff, when did you feel like, okay, I feel like I'm kind of hitting some momentum here. It's starting to work.
Oh, it was slow for me. I mean, I got a few things. I think I got my first listing from someone that I was like an acquaintance of, but I didn't really know him in October of 23. She called me and said, "Hey, I want you to come list my house." And the only reason she knew I was an agent was because of Facebook and platform. Um,
So that was about six months into.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then I closed a buyer lead from one of my lead sheets in December of 23. So like it was just kind of slow. I'd say like it really started just getting really, I noticed a major uptick in September of 24. So it was almost 18 months before I really was
Okay.
like going crazy.
Yeah, where you're like, this isn't just paying for itself. It's not just breaking even, but it's actually like noticeably has a good ROI at this point.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
I think it's really important to discuss that because sometimes we highlight the stories and we highlight the clients that are like, oh my God, my business doubled in 6 months, or, these crazy early success stories. But the reality is that most people who are going to pursue a strategy like this, which is about building a brand and content marketing and kind of playing this long-term game of, building your brand in your community, that's something that doesn't create overnight results, right? Like if you get results in 90 days, you are the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. And I remember listening to a bunch of these other podcasts and like hearing people just do it fast. And I was like, what is up with my market? Like I'm doing what I'm supposed to. It's just not working. That just took longer.
And how many people are in the greater Salt Lake area? I'm assuming it's a couple million.
Yeah, I honestly don't know, but yeah, definitely a couple million. I can look it up really quick.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming it's a couple million because obviously it's major metro area,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of I think one of the misconceptions is that some people think, oh, like I've heard a bunch of platform case studies and they're in small towns, and so I just don't think I can ever achieve that level of success because I'm not in a small town. And I think when you're in a small town, it's like two sides of a coin. There's a plus and a minus. The plus is that you'll reach saturation a lot faster. And so you're more likely to be recognized if you're going out into grocery shopping or you go to church or whatever. You're more likely to be recognized if you do this platform marketing strategy in a smaller town just because of math, right?
Oh
If
yeah,
you live in a
definitely.
town with 40 or 50,000 people, like you're more likely to be recognized when you're out and about, which is kind of fun when that happens because you're like, oh, cool, the marketing's working. People actually recognize me, right? But the
Right.
downside of being in a small town is that there's way less opportunities for the marketing to work because there's obviously a lot less transactions happening at any given time in a town with 50,000 people as there is in an area with 500,000 people, right?
Right. Definitely. Yeah.
And so, all things being equal, in some cases balances out whatever. Like you have more opportunity, but also it's diluted a little bit. But it took you longer, right? Like,
Oh, for sure.
you're for sure 18 months in, if not 2 years in, because you're now basically just past your 2 year anniversary of platform.
Yeah.
And now this year you can truthfully say, holy cow, I'm on pace to like more than double, not just more than double what you did last year, but more than double what you did in your best year ever. And let's be
Hmm.
real, the real estate market in 2025 isn't even close to an apples comparison to what it was like in 2021.
Oh, definitely.
It's
Yeah.
like I like to play this hypothetical of like, imagine you had all of this marketing dialed in going into 2021.
That would have been nuts.
Right, you would have sold like 50 million, right?
Right.
So that, I mean, that's incredible that you're having that good of a year in this down of a market, because most agents in 2025, when we're recording this, like they're straight up struggling, right? It's a
Hmm.
hard, high interest rate market. There's, the Fed just had their meeting actually yesterday, and there was no rate cuts in May, and they don't seem like they're looking to cut rates in June. There's kind of some disagreement with that back and forth, but like when you look at the fundamentals of the economy right now with unemployment where it's at and inflation, like it would be frankly surprising if they cut rates in any major way in the next 6 months. Like they might cut rates
Yeah.
20, they might cut rates 25 bips or something, but that's not going to move the needle on housing sales if rates go down that little.
Yeah. I agree.
So it's and frankly, the last time they cut rates, mortgage rates went up. um,
Yeah. I remember that. It was bad.
yeah, that was the fall of last year. They cut rates pretty significantly, and then mortgage rates actually went up because bond investors just didn't trust the numbers, and they're like, no, we actually want more money to buy mortgage bonds now. So uh, I guess the macro environment that we're in is kind of hostile to real estate agents right now, and yet you're having this just like epic year. Like I'm sure most agents in your office in your area wish they had a business like yours now, where you're going to be
Yeah.
selling 20 million plus. Um, Tell me a little bit about your market. What is the median price point? What is your average price point? What's the days on market? What does that look like for where you're at?
So median price point like 550. We're pretty high. So my average is probably pretty close to that. I do have a couple bigger ones. Like I have one right now that's 2.75 million, which is my most expensive listing ever. Um, but most of it is in the fives or sixes.
Okay. Are homes selling quickly there? What's the days on market look like?
Um, so average is like 40 days on market. Mine are selling faster than that right now. So I'm happy about that. I had one I put on the market yesterday and got an offer on this morning. So
Wow.
yeah. So I mean, but most of the time it's about 30, 40 days on market.
Okay, so that's still a pretty strong seller's market where
Yeah.
you're at then. So for you, getting listings is kind of like the name of the game. If
Oh yeah.
that's the way the market is. Have you noticed that in the last couple of years you're getting more listings than you previously used to get as like a ratio, or has that not changed?
Oh, it changed significantly. I rarely did listings. I probably had in 2021, I probably had four listings. Um, right now I have six current listings and I had seven closings last week. So like I'd say I'm 90% listings right now.
Really?
So,
90% listings.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
I mean, I never had listings before.
Well, that's a huge success story in and of itself, because like not all sales volume is created equal. So if you
Oh
tell,
yes.
like if you're saying, "Hey, I'm going to do 20 million this year and 18 million of that is listings," versus someone who's even 50-50, if it's like I had 10 million of listings and 10 million of buyer sales, I can tell you which agent has the higher standard of living and better work-life balance, right?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah,
so
for
like
sure.
if you can build your business while you're doubling your sales volume like that, but in the doubling is like, hey, I'm actually doing way higher percentage of listings than I've ever been.
Hmm.
That's a win stacked on top of a win, because you're now probably making
Yeah.
twice the money you've ever made, but you're actually working less than you did
Yes.
when you were maybe selling
Yeah.
half that
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I
That's
just had to order more signs because I'm running out of signs. I can't I can't keep up with them.
That's awesome. I actually didn't know that. That's why we do these interviews, is I did not realize that you had that. Like, hey, I'm doing like 90% list. That's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Super awesome.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that, hey, all of a sudden I used to be kind of like an unofficial buyer's agent, even if you weren't marketing yourself that way, you were doing
Hmm.
more buyers and sellers. And now it seems to be that like you've kind of just become this listing agent powerhouse. Like what changed that got you to this point?
Part of it is, I think, time. I was a newer agent before, so part of it is time, and then a lot of it, I think, is just the marketing. Is when I go into a listing appointment with the marketing guide for platform, it's like I can guarantee more people are going to see your house with me than with someone else. I have listing videos that have over 100,000 views on them.
Really? Okay.
So, I mean, it's like I can show those and those numbers, and it's makes a huge advantage. And I have done some um, like lead systems that I get more listing appointments, but then I go in and I win them. Like I was talking to the lady that does it, and she's like, normally it's like 1 to 2%, and I'm at like 8 to 10% of ones that I actually get and close. So like, and I think that's with my marketing is just a huge advantage.
Yeah, because you can roll into a listing appointment and just show them the numbers of like, hey, uh here's how much views you're gonna get. You can roll into a listing appointment and just talk about the amount of views that you're gonna get, where most agents are like, yeah, I'll put a sign in the yard, I'll take professional photos, it'll be on the MLS. And it's like, okay, but what do you do that other agents don't do? You know?
Right.
And most agents, if you ask them that question, uh, that directly, they don't have an answer to it.
No, they have no answer. I used to have not no answer.
So you go into a listing, you have all these metrics, right? Like of the actual, you said, I can get 100,000 views on a listing video, right? That's
Hmm.
crazy. Like I think that's such a powerful claim that a lot of sellers might not even believe you unless you showed them the video. Like, hey, here's the proof, right?
Right.
Because it's such like, wait, what? I mean, like,
How was that possible?
yeah, right. Like most, if you go on YouTube, it's like most listing videos that you see agents put up there are getting like 1,000 views, maybe 500 views, you know?
Hmm.
And so you're
Yeah.
like, hey, look, I got 100,000 on this. What do the sellers usually, what do they say when you show them that?
They're just like, oh, well, they told me, because when I interview and it's another agent, and they're like, well, that agent told me that they put it on all these websites. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's the IDX feed, right? It goes to everybody, but that's very standard. I'm like, this is in addition to that. Like, I'll still give you what he's giving you, but now I'm giving you this extra. And they're just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I want you to do it.
Have you ever actually picked up a buyer from one of those listing campaigns where you double ended a listing?
No, I've had a couple buyers, but they've never turned in anything. I've had people call me and I've gone and shown them, but
Yeah.
nothing that's ever stuck.
I'm actually kind of glad you said that because I think there's a misconception. I was hoping you would say that. There's kind of this misconception of why you should be filming listing videos. And agents think it's like, oh, I want to pick up more buyers or I want to find someone to buy the listing. And it's like, we all know if the house is priced correctly, it's going to sell. Right. And
Right.
if it's not priced or if it's not selling, it's frankly because it's not priced correctly. Right. You can
Yeah.
have the coolest video in the world and that video can get 100,000 views. But if the house is $30,000 overpriced, it's not going to sell. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So like at the end of the day, we as, real estate professionals know that as long as it's got good pictures and the house is priced reasonably accurately, it's going to sell, right? The
Yes.
real reason you do these listing videos and the real reason that you want to get, like you said, 100,000 video views on a listing video isn't to help that house sell. It's not even to pick up a buyer for that house like you're trying to double end it. It's because of the psychology of how you can show that to future homeowners on listing appointments of look what I did with the last house, and it helps you get more listings. So I think it's not a coincidence at all to me. I mean, I've been running platform now for 10 years and I've seen this pattern over and over and over again of an agent like you who does this and then they get more listing appointments, get more listings, you film more epic listing videos, and that leads to even more listings. And all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're like, holy cow, this took a couple years, but I'm on pace to double or possibly, who knows, maybe even triple my GCI from where it was a couple years ago. And it wasn't really rocket science what you did. You just, you film listing videos and you had creative marketing, and you went from 10 to 20 to 25 million, maybe eventually you get to 30 million, and it's doing creative listing videos.
Yep. Yep, definitely.
What are you spending on the average listing video? Like, do you know, are you putting $300 or $500, or do you know how much goes into like the actual ad spend budget for a listing video?
I have no idea. I know how much, like I'm about 1,200 a month.
Okay.
We front end in like first quarter and do a lot first quarter. And so first quarter, sometimes I'm up to over 2,000, but then I go down to 1,200, and I just give it to Taylor, who's amazing. And just, I'm like, I don't care what you do with it. But she did say she's probably going to have to increase me because I just sent her 3 listing tours this week. So she's like, we're probably going to have to increase your spend.
Yeah, like, which is fine, because if you're doing that much more, it's like, well, then you're going to make more money. So it's like, it's
Right.
not that big of a deal if you have to increase your budget a little bit. But
Yeah,
yeah, I would guess it's probably 300.
probably.
Although if you get 100,000 video views, that probably wasn't $300. That seems exceptional.
That was a $1 million listing that I had. But most of them are right around 80,000. Like, I mean, I have some that are only in like 25, 30,000, but most of them are in the 80s. So, but the one that had over 100 that I know of was a $1 million listing. And I know we probably put more money behind that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible either way, because it's like, even if you put $500 behind that, it's like, well, whatever, a couple $100 if it gets you 100,000 video views, and you're
Yeah.
gonna make whatever 25 grand on that.
Yeah. It's totally worth it.
Yeah, that exactly. That is money well spent. Because again, I want to emphasize that, like, it's not that you spent a little bit of extra money to promote this listing because you were going to make a bunch of money when that listing sold. It's
Mm-hmm.
that you're basically buying the story of like, hey, if I have to spend $500 promoting this listing to get 100,000 video views or whatever, that story to me that I can tell in the future to listings in the future on listing appointments is that, hey, look at such and such a video that I got 100,000 video views on. That's why you're doing it, is in that moment that you can leverage the power of that story and that case study, and that helps you get future listings. So you're spending about $1,200 a month or so. Maybe in some months you spend more if you get more listings.
Mm-hmm.
And that has fueled this growth of, hey, growing from 10 million to over 20 million. So for those
Yeah.
listening, like, that's a good ROI, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's a very good financial ROI there. What are some of your other favorite ads that you've run that have seemed to get a lot of engagement, or whether it's a video ad or a photo retargeting ad? Like, are there a couple ads you can point to over the last several years where, like, hey, this particular one really, really seemed to connect with my retargeting list?
Well, so it's weird because I've never had one that I've really felt like I mean, I've had some listing videos where friends and family have been like, "Oh my gosh, those are so funny," even some of the photo ads, but nothing that like strangers have ever said anything about, or none that I can like, that one post took me straight to a
Sure,
client,
sure.
right? But whenever I do the like the Mother's Day ads, the family ads, Utah's very family oriented, family friendly, and so like the family ads usually get the most engagement. That
And when you say when you say family ad, you're literally just saying like photos of me and my family where I'm telling a personal story about something that we're doing.
Yeah, yeah. So we were just looking at the Mother's Day ads, trying to figure out which one we were going to do. So we went back to see what I'd done in the past, and like those ones had tons of engagement on them. So yeah,
Yeah, I again, for those listening who maybe are not in the platform marketing program, when she says something like a family ad, it literally is like, we'll grab a family photo, and not like a formal family photo necessarily. It could just be a random impromptu photo taken when you guys were out to eat and you're in a booth at a restaurant, or you're doing some outdoor activity. Like, it's not like a studio portrait photo,
oh
right?
no, no, they're just ones I snap on my phone on vacation or hiking or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you write up a paragraph about whatever is going on in the photo. And it's like the kind of thing you would post on your personal profile. It does not look like an ad because there's not really any relevance to this being about real estate or homes for sale. It's literally just helping people get to know Richelle personally and get to know her family. So they realize like, hey, she's a wife, she's a mom, she has kids, she's
Mm-hmm.
normal, just like you. Right. It helps people kind of like humanize you and get to know you. And that as a retargeting ad is ironically the most effective ad for the exact reason that it doesn't look like an ad.
Right.
So
Yeah.
again, like many people say that they're most effective ads. It's actually the ones that don't look like ads, just the stuff about my family or a recent trip I went on, or it's nothing that's like these super genius real estate ads. It's just these ads that help people get to know me. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So I think this is actually really fascinating that like you've doubled your business again, maybe even tripled. We'll see by the end of the year.
Right.
Um, that you've had this level of growth, and yet it's like, hey, no one's ever recognized me out in public. I don't have people telling me that they love my ads or see my ads, because again, like this is something that is easier to have happen in a smaller town,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah. The only people that ever say anything are real estate agents. They tell me they see my ads.
Right, because those are people you see regularly, right? Or like your
Yeah.
family or whatever. But it's not like you're at church, you're at the grocery store, and people are just like, "Oh, are you that realtor?" Because like if you're in a town of 1 million people or 2 million people, that's probably not going to happen because the odds of someone seeing you are just so mathematically slim at that point, right? But
Yeah.
I want to emphasize that just because that's not happening, or if you've heard this happen for other platform clients, that doesn't mean you can't double or triple your business, right? Because you're
Right.
you're a case study here of like you probably, if I would have asked you a year ago, the honest answer would be, I don't know, I'm pretty happy with platform, like, but I'm not thrilled, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
That's
like
where I was.
obviously you were happy enough a year ago to continue with it, so it wasn't like you were mad that it wasn't work, or else you wouldn't have continued.
Right.
But you
Right.
but you but you certainly weren't like over the moon ecstatic, like I'm gonna shout from the rooftops how well this marketing is working, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
um and it took a while, but like throughout that time you weren't getting the positive kind of like feedback of, oh wow, I love your ads, because I think that sustains a lot of realtors if they're in the first
Mm-hmm.
6 months to the first 12 months of this platform strategy, whether or not you're even a platform client. If you're just like running local ads and trying to build a brand, because that's what platform is we're just helping you do that, helping you do it probably faster than you would be able to figure it out on your own, because we've done it so many times, right? Like we
Mm-hmm.
know exactly what ads to run and what to do. um, if you're not getting that feedback early on of people kind of complimenting you, hey Richelle, I love your social media, or I love that post, or they see you at the grocery store, oh my gosh, is that you, are you that realtor, and you're like not getting those warm fuzzies, it can be hard to stay motivated for a year or two to keep doing it, in the absence of results. So I think that's like
Yeah.
a credit to your character that you kept that long-term focus and you kept doing it. You played the long game, even though you weren't necessarily getting all the kind of the quick wins and the emotional warm fuzzies of people complimenting you constantly. Um,
Yeah. It was rough.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question. What was it about the platform strategy that kept you working with us the first couple years, even before things were really taking off? Because if in your own words it's like, my business didn't really grow a whole lot the first year and I wasn't getting all these wins, like what was it that made you stay then?
So when I signed up, I was like, I'm for sure giving it 6 months, right? And which is nothing, but I was like, I'm going to give it 6 months. And then I saw like just the Facebook group, all the like everyone talking like, oh, you got to give it longer. So then I went to the mastermind in December. So I was just shy of a year, and I talked to some people in the bigger markets like Neil Cox, and I talked to Jill Lightfoot, um, and I was like, okay, is it really a year? Like, and they're like, you might really need to give it two. And I was like, okay, just so I found like I saw out the people in the bigger markets that were at the mastermind and got their feedback. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait a little bit. And I like having the accountability of Taylor, talking to Taylor and just being like, no, I believe in this. I like truly believe in what platform is and marketing and making my brand. And it's the type of agent I want to be. I don't want to be like the ambulance chaser type of agent, right? Like it's not the business I want. So I believed in it. And then I listened to Tom Collier's podcast a while ago, long time ago. And his took like 2 years. And I was like, okay, I just believe in it. And I just really I loved the group that we have on like just the support system on Facebook and stuff, and just talking to other agents. I've gotten referrals from other agents. I called a couple and I'm like, okay, what I'm doing isn't working. Give me some advice. And we just had some, conversations, and it was super helpful. So all of that together, I guess, is probably what kept me going, and just believing that it would get me there.
Yeah. So like talking to other agents and kind of thinking, okay, this might take 2 years, not 1 year. That's funny that you listened to Tom Collier's episode, because we always joke that's the only episode we've ever done for platform that had like a negative ROI.
I remember that.
Yeah, we've like literally had clients who listened to that particular podcast episode who quit after listening to it because they're like, this guy's saying it's going to take 2 years to work. I don't have that much money. And then they, quit. But I'm glad that it worked for you, that episode is actually what encouraged you, because that was the intent of that conversation, is to encourage people to stick it out.
Yeah.
Because Tom is very similar. His numbers to you actually is like his best year ever before platform was like more like 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
And he grew it eventually to 20 million. Right.
Right.
But it took, 2 years to really see that growth. But it's like, man, if you look back in time, the point I always make is like, if your business can double, like we're not talking about, it increased by 10% from 10 to 11 million, but it's like, no, we're talking about doubling from 10 million to 20 million. In the grand scheme of things, who cares if it takes 1 year versus 2 years, right? Like the real question that you're kind of like, your brain is probably thinking, but you maybe don't verbalize this. The real question is this going to work at all? Because
Yeah.
if you were to somehow be guaranteed that this is going to work 100%, you will eventually double your business, but it might take 3 years versus 1 year, you would still do it,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Because that would still totally be worth it. But it's like the real question that I think most people are emotionally wrestling with is like, is this going to work at all, for me, versus how long is it going to take? And like the timing matters too, because if someone signed up for platform in 2018 or 2019 or 2020, they probably had a very different experience of what their first 2 years looked like versus someone like you who signed up in March of 2023, which was
Yeah.
basically like when interest rates peaked. Was
Mm-hmm.
when, that was when like, hey, you're not getting a mortgage and it's going to be under 7% or 7.5%. And frankly, it's been that way the last 2 years in a row, right? Where
Yeah.
we've had a few couple super brief moments in time where rates got down to like 6.5, 6.25. But for most people, the last 2 years, if you're buying a house, the mortgage is going to start with a 7.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And again, there's some exceptions if they're doing VA, FHA, you can get cheaper rates on some mortgage stuff, but then you're just paying for it a different way. But, you know, the, the point I'm trying to make, I guess, is that the fact that your first 2 years were 2023 and 2024, and now we're into 2025,
Mm-hmm.
like that means you had an uphill battle from the start, because you joined during basically the worst possible time to start a new marketing strategy as a realtor, is when the
Yes.
market, was what it was. So that's even more credit to you that you had a long-term mentality and you stuck it out, because it would have been very, very easy to rationalize, what, this just doesn't work. I'm going to save my money and not spend so much on marketing.
Right. I remember when you would say, now's the time to beef up your marketing. It'll pay off in the end. And I was like, oh, can I afford that right now? Okay. But it did, like, platform paid for itself most of the time, like through those 2 years before it really, or 18 months, I guess it really took off about 18 months. So, but I would get little things here and there. So I didn't feel like I was negative, but
Yeah,
I
like
just,
you weren't losing money. It was bringing in
yeah,
enough closings to where it was paying for itself, but it was like, okay, at a certain point this needs to more than pay for itself. It needs to,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. Um the other thing is I realize, as the founder CEO platform, it's like I'm biased. right? Like people are going to think, whether or not they ever say this to me out loud, they're going to think, well, of course Tim is going to say that. Of course Tim is going to say, stick it out and you'll see events, long term, because he wants you to keep paying his company, right?
I remember thinking that a few times. Yeah.
Right. Well, right. It's a very reasonable thing to think, right? If I was a client of some company, um, and they just kept saying, "Hey, stick it out long term," I'd be like, "Well, of course you're going to say that. You kind of are a non-neutral source of information here." Um, but like we have so many case studies where it's like, no, seriously, look at this person, what their results are at the 2 year mark versus the 1 year mark, or even
Oh yeah.
the 18-month mark versus the 9-month mark, like right, like
Hmm.
every single time when someone plays the long game, it works out. And if it doesn't, in the very, very few instances where someone sticks to a platform for a year or 2 years and it's not working, we can look at like, well, what are you not doing? Are you not doing ads? Have you just been paying us every month for 2 years and not doing ads or not following up with your leads? Because
Right.
with the amount of exposure you typically get, even if your ads budget isn't 1,200, if it's like 1,000, which we recommend spending a minimum of 1,000, but ideally somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500.
Yeah.
Like,
When I started, I was 1,000, I think, and then there were a few months I dropped to 800, and then we beefed it up to 1,200 when I started making more money. So
yeah, I mean, even with average CPMs being what they are, if you're spending $1,000 a month, it means about 100,000 people a month are seeing your social media posts.
yeah.
And like we
Wow.
can track that in the data, right? Because you typically have a CPM of about $10. It's just a different way of saying every $10 you spend on ads, Facebook will serve those ads and show them to every $10 is 1,000 people.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why we say, like, hey, if you really want to grow quickly, like spend more on ads, because you're literally just buying time. When in the literal sense, you're buying time, because if someone who has a $1,500 ads budget every month compared to $1,000 ads budget,
Hmm.
like at the end of the day, it's only $500 a month difference. It's not that big of a difference. At the end of the year, that $500 difference times 12 is $6,000 more that you would have spent on ads, right? So it's like the equivalent of getting a $200,000 closing at 3%. However, the person who puts themselves in a position to spend 1,500 a month versus 1,000, again, it doesn't seem like that big of a difference, but from a percentage standpoint, it's a 50% increase in how many people are seeing your ads every month.
Yeah.
So rather than 100,000, 150,000 people are seeing their ads. And all that happens here is that you're basically speeding up your timeline by 50%.
Right.
So because that many more people are seeing you every month, right? So if it took someone 2 years to really get results, had they been spending 1,500 a month and not 1,000, they probably would have got those results in a year. Like that's one way to think about it, is because
Yeah.
that many more people are seeing the ads. Obviously not everyone's in a financial situation right away where they can put that much more money into ads, and there's a little bit of psychology there where you sometimes need to like see the proof of it working before you put more money into it, right?
Right. Yeah, for
But
sure.
like that's the reality of the math, is that it's like if you're spending more people are going to see it, and therefore it's going to work faster. So and that same principle I think applies until you maybe get up to like 2,500 a month. Like after that, I don't know how much of a diminishing return there is. If you're like, hey, platform work great up to 2,000 a month, let's spend 5,000 a month, I'd probably be like, oh, let's pump the brakes a little. That might just be throwing
Yeah.
money out there. But that's also why we're rolling out YouTube ads now, because for those of our clients who become really successful with the Facebook ads and they
Hmm.
want to maybe like diversify their budget a little bit more,
Yeah.
we'll start running ads on YouTube, because that's completely uncorrelated with the people that are searching on Facebook. You're reaching an entirely different group of people on YouTube than you are with the Facebook ads. And so like if you add some money there, it'll have
Hmm.
full effectiveness, rather than just spending a bunch more money on Facebook.
Right. I actually talked to Max about that on Monday. So we're getting mine moving,
Oh,
I
cool.
think.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yep.
That's a huge project for us behind the scenes. Please pray for us, because like launching
Yeah.
ads for like 300 clients on a new thing is just like, normally you don't do that. you don't, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. That's going to be
So
fun.
we're just kind of like, okay, how do we do this fast enough to where clients are, happy that we're not taking 6 months to get their ads up, but at the same time, we don't want to rush and make mistakes getting clients ads up. So
Yeah.
Because we're trying to do all this without raising the price of platform. So we're not just like, it's not like we have 50 extra employees doing all this. So like the existing account management team is trying to roll all this out. But I'm excited because I've seen the results it's gotten for the likable clients. The agency acquired is called Likable Agents, like a YouTube ads agency for realtors, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they have a lot of examples of people where it's doubled or tripled their business with these style of YouTube ads. And so cool, if we add that on to what we're doing in platform, like it could be really cool.
I just hired an assistant, but now I might need another one.
Yeah, like maybe the thing that impresses me so much about these YouTube ads is like YouTube traffic is so much warmer than social media traffic because YouTube, it's people think of YouTube as social media. It's not. YouTube is a search engine
Right.
that just happens to be video searches, right? But it's really more like the way that you would view Google is how you should view YouTube. I mean, Google owns YouTube, obviously, but YouTube is a search engine that just has video results. So there's a higher level of intent if someone searches for the type of keyword that would have your video, pop up. And so when you're following up with those leads, we've observed that like 70% of them are going to get into a conversation with you. If you get 10 leads, you'll have warm conversations with 7 out of 10 of those leads.
That's awesome.
That is absolutely not the way it works with
Yeah.
Facebook, right?
No, no, not even close.
To have a warm conversation with 7 people on Facebook, you might need to get 100 leads or more, right?
Yeah.
Not 10. So like it is like by an order of magnitude, like a 10-to-1 ratio, the YouTube leads are warmer than Facebook. They cost a lot more, right? The leads are much more expensive, but they're much, much more qualified and like serious than the average Facebook lead that comes in. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if you've already grown your business, Richelle, from 10 million to 20 million plus, maybe you hit 25 million this year. It's like if you add the YouTube leads on top of that, I think you're going to be in a really interesting place in your life and business where you'll probably have to make some tough decisions about like, do I even want to grow my business more? Because do I mean
How busy is too busy? It's a thing.
seriously, yeah, because at a certain point, I mean, if we just run the numbers here, it's like, all right, if you sell 25 million, you're probably making 500, $600,000 a year in GCI.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, you're probably working 40, 50 hours a week. Like I highly doubt you're working less than that. And I
Oh
hope,
no, not
you know,
less.
I hope you're not working 80 hours a week, but like you're certainly doing 40, 50 hours a week.
Yeah.
But if you're making $500,000, it's like, is it seriously worth it to make $700,000, but you're working 80 hours a week for it? It's like for most people, the answer is probably not.
Yeah. Yeah. There has to be a limit.
Because I mean, even if you hire an assistant or you bring on a team or whatever, it's like, well, you still have to manage those people.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to spend, I mean, I have a team, so I can say this, right? Like just because I have a team doesn't mean I don't have several hours in my week devoted to checking in with the team, managing the team. So
Yeah.
it's not as simple as, oh, hire an employee and then you never have to worry about it again, right? That would just
Yeah.
be you being a horrible boss, right? Like you have to check in and manage your teams. Like at a certain point, you grow your business and it's like, how much more do I want to grow my business? Because I kind of also enjoy having the occasional night and weekend free.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I've hit that. Like I'm this last year or the last like 3 months, probably.
Yeah.
It's been insane. And I'm just like, okay, my family's like, where are you? Where'd you go? So, but I mean, it's good.
Yeah. I think for most agents, that's going to happen somewhere between 20 million and 25 million. But the price point matters a lot too, because if you can sell 30 million, but you're selling $500,000 houses, you
Mm-hmm.
can still maintain somewhat of a work-life balance compared to someone who's in a market where all the homes are $250,000.
Oh,
Like
for
for them,
sure.
for them to sell 20 million of $250,000 homes, that's a lot of transactions.
That's a lot of transactions. Yeah. No, I'm not. Mine are higher, so that's good.
What retargeting ads are you most looking forward to doing maybe in the next month or two? Are there any ads you've seen other platform agents do? You're like, oh, I really want to do that one.
I'm working on the like I really like the one where you shout out to the other agents. So um, the abundance mentality one, I think is what it's called. So I'm excited about that one. Um, there was just another one that I just saw that somebody else just did that I was like, oh, I really like that one, but I can't remember what it
Yeah,
was.
I love the abundance mentality one. It's basically where you you list like 3 or 4 agents that are in your market, like in your MLS,
Mm-hmm.
that are like literally your competitors, right? And you just say, hey, I want to give a shout out to 3 or 4 of my favorite agents that these are my competitors, but if for some reason you can't work with me and it just doesn't work out, here are 3 or 4 local agents that I trust, and I just want to have an abundance mentality and wish them the best of luck. Like here are some of my competitors that I actually love. And the psychology of that ad that I think makes it so cool is that it's actually positioning you as being the market leader if you're the one making that post, because it's basically implying I'm so confident that I don't need business that I'm willing to recommend other people because I have this abundance mentality that business will flow my way. I'll get what I need. That like no cup overflows, that's not full,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
And so
definitely.
it positions you as being so confident in what you do that you're not begging for business, that like, I'll even recommend my competition, right? And like at some subconscious level, it actually attracts people to you even more because they would want to work with an agent that's that confident in themselves and their brand. So that's a cool ad.
Yeah.
I love the psychology of that ad. Another recent one we've done for a lot of clients that's pretty cool is the commission ad that talks about, do you charge extra for your listings?
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. Haven't done it yet.
That's a cool one where we just ask, we just answer the question, hey, do you charge more than other agents charge? And I know there's this whole legal disclaimer where the lawyers will tell you you cannot, every commission is negotiable, there is no such thing as a standard rate, blah blah blah. I'm not licensed as an agent, so I can say this and not get sued. Let's be real,
Yeah.
most agents charge 6%, right?
Right.
Like
Mm-hmm.
probably 90% of agents would say the standard commission is like 3 buyers agent, 3 listing agent. Some
Mm-hmm.
markets it's more like 2.5, so it's 5%, but that's what it is 99% of the time, right?
Yeah.
So the cool thing that platform agents get to do is, because you have this epic marketing plan behind your listings, right? You're getting your listings so much exposure. We wrote this ad that talks, it just starts with a question, hey, do I charge more money than or do I charge a higher commission than other agents to sell a house? And that opening sentence gets a ton of clicks because people are all of a sudden trying to find out, what does Richelle charge for a commission, And then you just go on to talk about, I understand why people are asking this question because I do so much more marketing for my listings. I can get my listings sometimes 100,000 video views, right? Like I objectively invest more money in my social media ads and in my promotion than other agents do. But the answer is no, I do not charge them extra for that. I eat the cost of all the
Mm-hmm.
marketing because I think if I can get my listings more exposure than the average listing, it'll benefit me in the long run because more people will refer their friends to me because they see how good of a job I did, on their listing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what the ad says. And it just says, no, I don't charge. I eat the cost of it. And again, it positions you as like, well, if that's the case and Richelle isn't necessarily charging more than other agents for her marketing, why would
Yeah.
you not work with her, right? Like
Right.
why would you knowingly work with some other agent who probably charges the same commission and then get way less service than Richelle is going to offer you? And you're like saying that without saying that, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I like it.
So are there other agents in the platform that you found yourself kind of like hanging out with more or talking with more? Are there any agents that you like look up to that you're like, hey, I've connected with this person, they're awesome? Like who in the platform, when you go to a mastermind, are you like, I need to find this person and talk with them?
I love the Ohio agents. I went and did the flyover thing with them last 2024.
Oh yeah, that's right. I totally forgot you were there. That's right. Okay. Yeah, because we had talked at the airport in Columbus. I remember that
Yeah.
now. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I don't know. So it was really funny when I went to the first mastermind in December. I walked in and I hadn't met anybody, obviously, right? There's no one in my market. And I walk in, I'm like, oh, there's all my friends. And I was like, oh, yeah, actually, platform totally works because I just did it by seeing those people. Like, none of them had ever met me, but I had
Right.
followed all of them. So I felt super comfortable around them, even though,
You've never actually met. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I connected with all of them, and then I've talked to Angela Musgrave a couple times. She's relatively close to me, our markets, and so we've chatted on the phone. I called her, and I'm like, okay, she gave me some pointers one time, and we've done referrals back and forth. So
Okay.
I,
Yeah. She's up in Boise. Yep.
yeah. So, um, But those ones, and I just barely got a referral from Carrie Denny. Um, so I've talked to her a
Oh,
few times.
cool. Yeah, she'll actually be speaking at the mastermind this year. Yep.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, like Jill, um, and Neil Lightfoot or Neil Lightfoot, Jill Lightfoot and Neil Cox are the ones that I
Yeah.
like talked to quite a bit when I was at both Mastermind and the Ohio thing.
Yeah, because
So
you're all in somewhat larger market areas in terms of populations. You can kind of share,
yeah,
share your perspectives there on what has worked from them and what can work for you.
yeah, yeah. And then Jen Polson's in Utah, so I talked to her too. We have a referral going back and forth right now too. So yeah,
And she also works with Taylor too, right?
she does. Yep.
Yeah. So you mentioned Taylor. I'm sure you talked to Taylor at the masterminds a little bit too,
Oh yeah.
earlier. For those who don't, you mentioned Taylor. Again, for those who are listening that are not actively a platform client, who is Taylor to you, and what does Taylor do for your business?
Oh, so Taylor's my account manager, but she is like my cheerleader. She's my like I text her and I'm like, hey, what do I do for this listing intro? I'm lost here. You know, she's like, I don't know. She keeps me on track, keeps me going, make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to. You know, when I first started, I did not want to do listing tours, and she was like, "We're gonna do them. You're gonna do one every single week." And I was like, I don't know." So she made me accountable, which made it more effective. So
How many listing ads do you typically do a month? Like how many like listing videos do you do in a month?
at least two. There's definitely some months I do four or five, but I always do at least two.
Okay.
So I had
So
there were a couple months that I had some personal stuff and I didn't. I probably got one a month if I was lucky, but generally it's at least two.
so it probably averages out because you do have some months where you do four in a month, or it probably averages out at like 2 to 3 a month, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So that's really important too, because I view like the listing videos as like the Swiss Army knife of the platform marketing strategy. Because a listing video is not just about lead gen, it's not just about branding, it's like both and, right? And the more listing videos you do, the more you're also positioning yourself as being an active, successful realtor who's just out and about selling houses, even if those listings aren't your listings, right?
right.
Even if you're filming videos that are not your listings, it makes it look like you have a bunch of listings because most people don't read the fine print. They don't realize that, hey, this listing is
Yeah,
courtesy of whatever, but it's just, it was Richelle filming the video. It's the ultimate way to build your retargeting list, build brand recognition, and also get leads calling you, because sometimes people call and they want to see the house, or they'll say, hey, I saw the video you did for such and such.
mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about selling my house. Could you do the same thing for me? Right.
Right.
I'm sure you've had that happen at some point in the last couple of years where you get a message or a phone call like that references, hey, I saw this other video.
Mm-hmm.
Could you list my house and do the same thing?
Yep. Yeah.
So that's a huge part of your success, is the fact that you're doing that consistently. Because platform, like, we have a bunch of Facebook ads that are a little bit more like template type ads. But you can't build long-term success with template ads. Like, you have to get out and do listing videos. That's what all of our most successful clients have in common at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And they took me forever. I stressed over them. Now I just like, we went and did one yesterday in like 15 minutes. It was like, just, you know, do it quick
Yeah.
and be done.
Yep. And I'll give Taylor a shout out too, because I know all of Taylor's clients who work with her love working with her, and she holds you accountable, and she's willing to tell you like what you need to hear sometimes, not what you want to hear.
Yes.
And
Yes. She's amazing.
yeah, but also she does it with grace. Like, it's not like she's mean, right? Like, she
Oh,
does
no,
it.
not at
Yeah,
all.
she's great at building rapport with her clients, and I mean, hopefully, it feels like Taylor is a true business partner with you, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because often when we're on like a sales call and we're talking to someone who's new about joining the platform program, we
Mm-hmm.
mention, hey, we have account manager, and that account manager will talk to you regularly, typically every week or every other week. And I think what they hear when we say that is like, oh, it's this customer support rep with a headset working in a call center in India or something like that, and
It's
it's
so
like,
not that.
yeah, it's like they're thinking it's just like tech support or something. Like, hey, we'll give you a call to check in every week or two, whatever. It's like, no, it's like having a built-in marketing consultant who's assigned to you, and they're managing all your campaigns. They're overseeing the strategy of everything. They'll pick which ads they think will work the best for you. And they're also just having coaching
Yeah.
conversations with you every week. Like it's like having a coach. So you don't necessarily have to go pay for some coach from some coaching company, because that really should be what your platform account manager is to you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. She called. I had the Facebook glitch for the payment thing, and she called and she's like, "Hey, can you give me your credit card number?" And I was like, "Okay." And I'm like, I just give it to her. Like, don't even like think twice about like. She's like, "We're gonna try to log into your bank account." I'm like, "Okay." Like, I mean, just sure, do whatever you want.
Do you also need, yeah, do you also need my social security number? Sure. Here's that just in case.
That trust level is just it's just there. Like, it's awesome. It's so much more than a call center person.
Yeah. And I love that we get to do the mastermind every year, and that's a huge reason we do it, is so clients can actually hang out with their account manager in person,
Yeah.
because it's like you're in this weird situation where you talk to Taylor every other week or every week. You're probably minimum talking to Taylor about 20 to 30 times a year, right? You have conversations. So it's
Oh
like,
yeah, at least.
yeah, again, exactly, if not more. And so it's like most people can't honestly say that they talk to their friends 30 times a year, right? Like an
Yeah.
actual phone conversation for 20 minutes, right? Most
Oh
people
yeah.
don't talk to their parents or anyone in their life. Some people might not talk to their spouse that often, right?
Right.
And so when you're in that close of a regular communication with someone, but you never actually get to see them in person, it's fun for at least one time a year to come and hang out for a couple of days and grab drinks or grab dinner or grab breakfast or lunch or whatever, right? And
Hmm.
hang out and see. So that's why we do the mastermind every year, is like our account managers also want to hang out with their clients, because
You
um
become friends. There's no way you don't.
yeah, right. Like if you don't, something's wrong, right? Because I
Yeah,
don't know how you could
exactly.
possibly talk to someone that often and not kind of start becoming friends with them. I mean, I've never shadowed one of your calls or whatever, but I would imagine that you and Taylor, when you're on your platform, weekly phone calls, are probably sometimes just talking about life stuff of what's going on in your family,
Oh
what's
yeah.
going on in my family. You know what I mean? Like it's not always just going over the ad analytics of the recent campaigns and what was the cost per click of this, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not.
Have you had any other realtors notice your campaigns, or what you're like, hey, like Richelle started doing a lot of marketing stuff in the last year or two, and try to like copy you at all? Or have they asked you what you're doing, or have other realtors, I guess, noticed that you've been doing something different the last couple of years?
Oh, yeah. Like it was funny. I just had a broker open house and I had a realtor that I know a little, but she came up to me. She's like, I just want to tell you, you are in my Facebook at least once a week. She's like, I don't know what you're doing, but it's working. And then she was like, I have this house I can't sell. Will you come do a video for me? So she
Awesome.
asked me to highlight her house too. So, um, but yeah, I've had most of them are just kind of like, I see you all the time is the biggest thing with other realtors. I did a tour for an agent that like our kids are friends, and so I was like, hey, I was looking for a listing tour, and so I'm like, hey, can I go do one? And then the next like 2 weeks later, I noticed he did a listing tour of one of his houses on Facebook, but he did that one. I've never seen another one, and that was probably about a year ago.
Yeah, and it probably also got like 500 views.
Right? Yeah.
Because if you
Yeah.
if you don't have a retargeting strategy behind it, and you're not putting ad budget behind it, like you can take all the time in the world to film a really cool creative video, and even maybe you pay someone locally to produce a fancy pants edited video with drone footage and blah blah blah. But if you're not putting ad spend behind it, you're just going to spend a lot of money on production and then get 500 views total, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so if you were, now that you're like 2 years into this, right? So you have a little bit of the perspective of hindsight looking back.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to someone who maybe listened to this podcast episode, but they're like, okay, you keep talking about this platform strategy, this platform marketing strategy. Like, what is it? Like, what is the platform marketing strategy? Like, whether or not someone hires platform to help us implement it for them, or maybe they just want to try it on their own and implement the platform strategy again on their own. How would, in your own words, Richelle, how would you define the platform local marketing strategy? Like, what do you do on a weekly or monthly basis that's grown your business to where it's at now?
Um, I would say it's consistently like putting yourself out there. So it's making you a brand versus just calling random leads.
Well, yeah, because like I guess maybe a better way of asking the question is like, how does this platform strategy compare contrast with just like buying Zillow leads?
Yeah, it's totally different. It's like it's showing me as a person rather than like so people want to they want to work with me, they want to get to know me, they know who I am versus just I call some random person because they requested a showing on a house, right? They don't care what agent shows it to them versus, So I'd say it's just building up my personal brand, which is what I wanted to do. I think that's a long-term benefit. It doesn't matter what brokerage I go to. If I switch, it's they're following me. Um, and then it's also pushed me to get out into the community more. Like I was super involved when my kids were little. My kids are all older now, so I don't have as much, like I'm not in the community as much, but it pushed me to get back out there and like, build my brand being in the community, which is awesome. It's ultimately what I want. I just needed a little push after COVID to get back out there.
So it's really about like building your personal brand in your community so that business flows to you and people are messaging you, calling you rather than you calling people.
Yes. I mean, you still have to call people, but like I've gotten a lot more referrals from my SOI just because they see me all the time. So, yeah.
What and I'm really glad you brought that up. I should have asked you that question anyways. When you look at like, hey, my business has doubled from 10 to 20 million. Again, you might actually hit 25 million this year. What percentage of that is like fuzzy ROI versus what percentage of that growth is like, oh, I'm converting a bunch of homes list, Facebook lead gen, or you know, if you were to attempt to make a pie graph of like where that growth came from, because I always love asking this question when someone has just experienced like undeniable growth, because like
Mm-hmm.
obviously your business didn't just spontaneously go from 10 to 25 million and it's like, oh, I don't know, I guess I just got more referrals this year. It's like obviously something is driving that, but like, is it all fuzzy ROI? Are you converting actual Facebook like lead gen leads into closings? Like, how would you define that? Because that's what I think is the cool thing about platform is that it's actually very hard to define where the business is coming
Yeah.
from. And
Yeah.
that's what makes it an advantage because other agents can't quite reverse engineer it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say most of mine is fuzzy ROI, honestly. I mean, I've had a few call me and want me to list their house. I've had a few like leads that I've called from lead gen that I've converted, but most of it's fuzzy. I've had some Google LSA ads that I've gotten some of those recently, but most of it's just referrals, SOI, totally fuzzy. And I'm like, I can't say it's 100% platform, but there's no way it's not at this
Yeah,
point.
right. Because it's like I can't quite give credit because they didn't tell me they saw my Facebook post or whatever. But it would also be quite a coincidence that in the 2 years I started this, my business doubled. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I just closed a client she was a teacher at my elementary school. And so obviously I knew her. My mom was a teacher at the elementary school too. So like she, knew my mom. She's been retired for a while. And I mean, I haven't seen her since elementary school, but she was on one of my lead gen ads. And so I called her a couple of years ago and talked to her. I think she was one of my very first ones. Called and talked to her, and she was like, "Oh, I'm kind of looking," and we've just, kind of stayed in touch. But I just did a buy sell for her, and then she just referred me to her brother, and so I'm doing a buy sell for him right now too. So, and that, I mean, she knew who I was, but and there's no way, right? Like to me, that 100% came from platform. Just it's fuzzy, but it was platform.
She probably knows a bunch of other realtors too, right? Like
Yeah.
most people, that's always what I've maintained is that most people know at least two or three realtors that are actually like in their immediate sphere of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
They know at least two or three realtors. So your marketing to like exponentially grow your business, like double your business, right? Triple
Mm-hmm.
your business. Your marketing doesn't have to position you as being the best realtor in your entire MLS. Your
Right.
marketing just has to position you as being more top of mind and a better agent than the two or three agents they know. And as long as you're positioned as being slightly more vibrant, more creative, you're more top of mind than the two or three other agents that they know, they're going to pick you. So that is again, I'm glad that you answered the question that way, because that was actually kind of what I was expecting, is you would say, hey, it's fuzzy ROI, because almost every client who experiences growth like that tells us, you know what, honestly, it's hard to track the business, but I just have found that in the last year or two, or however long it's been since they started this platform style of
Mm-hmm.
marketing, I'm just getting way more referrals from my sphere and way more inbound calls. And I guess I don't know where it's coming from, but again, it'd be quite a coincidence if it was all just random.
Oh yeah, yeah. No way, it's just random.
It would take more blind faith to believe that it was random than that, like, the marketing is, the marketing is working.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Well, Richelle, thank you for your time. This has been a great episode. I love when I get to have a conversation with someone who didn't see results in the first 90 days or didn't see crazy results in the first 6 months, because it means that you stuck it out. You stuck it out a year, you stuck it out 18 months, and now you stuck it out 2 years. And it's like, well, look what happened in your second year.
Oh yeah.
You went from, doing 10 million to 20 plus million. Again, maybe you'll hit 25 million this year. And that pays for a lot of marketing. So you're
Yes.
going to be,
Yes, it does.
you're going to be quite positive in the ROI, as you will going forward, because I also noticed that once someone makes that leap, they don't go back. Once
Yeah.
you hit a year where you go from 10 million to 20 million, you don't regress ever. Like, oh, and then the next year I did 12 million. It's like, no, once your business hits that point, you're getting enough referrals and the snowball snowballs, right? And now
Right.
pretty much consistently, you're going to be selling 20 million from here on out. And, I don't know anything about your personal family's financial situation, but I know for pretty much any American family, if you add an extra, $200,000 to their household income, that really changes things.
It's significant. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
like, that's vacations you can't take, that's cars you can buy that you couldn't afford before, that's the difference between having cash potentially to pay for your kids' school. I mean, that really puts things in your personal life in kind of a different situation. So I'm really happy
Oh
for
yeah.
you. I'm really glad that you guys stuck it out. I'm glad that you have come to the masterminds and you've got to hang out in Ohio, as well as the other masterminds we've done in Florida recently. I'll hopefully see you this year in Naples at the
Yep.
mastermind.
Plan on being there.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy for you. Like, you're just a model client, an example of someone who stuck with it for the long term, had the long term mentality, and now you're harvesting all the seeds you planted. So, like, job well done.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been good. And I couldn't have done it without, yeah, what you guys do for me. So
All right, guys. Hopefully this episode has been encouraging to you. Richelle, again, thank you for your time, and we'll
mhm.
see you on the next episode of the Platform Marketing Show.
Okay. Thanks.